Welcome to Look Behind the Look, the new podcast that examines iconic looks in film, television, music, and fashion history. I'm your host, Tiffany Bartok. Hey everybody, thanks for joining me for Look Behind the Look. I'm your host, Tiffany Bartok, and today, at long last, I'm finally bringing you the James Vincent episode. You all know James. He is the Director of Education and Artistry for the Makeup Show and the Powder Group. His career in makeup is legendary. He's worked for absolutely everybody, doing absolutely everything. He's keyed major fashion shows in all the major cities, and he's worked for years on the music scene for videos that are spanning genres with legendary artists like Lady Gaga, Florence and the Machine, Amy Winehouse, Joan, Jett, and my favorite, the Foo Fighters. James has had the pleasure of working with leading ladies like Liv Tyler, Reese, Witherspoon, and even Jane Fonda. And James has also been privileged enough to work with men who have made their mark, including, yes, President Barack Obama. He and his colleagues have built such an amazing place for all makeup artists to unite, get information from each other, and really build each other up. We're also going to talk about his assistance days, which were really fun for me to pick his brain about. He, of course, has major adventures with Billy B and Kevin O'Quan and Dick Page, and he's going to share with you his best advice ever given to him by Kevin O'Quan, of course. And don't forget that, speaking of the makeup show is coming up. It's May 1st and 2nd. It's live and in person, and I have a code for you for $5 off tickets. So you're going to head to www.themakeupshow.com/NYC, and the code is for $5 off the makeup show. That code is LOVE NYC 22. And here's James. Hi, James Vincent. How are you?
I'm doing so well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing better now that you're here. This has been, let me just tell you behind the scenes, this has been so long coming. Since COVID, I've been talking to Shelly about getting you on, and you're the busiest person on the face of the planet, even throughout the world stopping. So I'm so happy to finally have you on the show. And it was not for lack of trying that it's been way too long since you've come and visited me. So I'm really, really excited to talk to you.
Well, I'm so honored. And, I appreciate being asked. I see the caliber of the guests that you have on, and it kind of blows my mind. I feel so lucky, and I'm such a fan of everything you do. And I know how much love you have for this industry. So to be here with you and spend some time talking about, makeup, which is my favorite subject other than myself, is like a great
I mean, what's the difference really between makeup and yourself,
It's funny because it's one of the reasons why I think I was so active during the pandemic to keep the community connected was, my first struggle was like crying in the shower in New York City during lockdown and saying, if I'm not a makeup artist, who am I? Like, what else do I do? Yeah. And I think so many of my artists and community were going through that I, and Shelly and the Makeup Show and kind of all of the programs I'm connected to, we stepped up and we said, we just have to be a shoulder. We just have to be a resource. And and so I'm very fortunate in that I kind of get to figure out all of my craziness, like, helping other people and doing things. And my company, Rebels and Outlaws, is really about activation and activism. So, right from early on, we were out in the streets doing things. Mm-hmm. And I love this makeup family so much that I feel very fortunate to be part of it. So I apologize. It has been a little crazy busy, but we're normalizing, and I'm going to be back to my lazy self. So.
Oh, okay, good. Okay. Yes. Lazy will be welcome, right? For you. You are, you have your hands in everything. You are the community guru. Without you, I don't know how I would have gotten through COVID without all of the virtual treats you had. And you really made such an effort to bring all of us together. And it was just so comforting to be able to come to the makeup community through the screen and see that we were all going through the same thing. And now we're on the other side of it. And it's, we're evolving out of it,
Yeah.
and I still feel so connected to the community. And it's all because of you and Michael and the Powder Group and Shelly. And like, now you're going to have another in-person makeup show coming on May 1st and 2nd, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, is it going to be just like normal? I mean, how it was before, or will it be less capacity?
I think it will be better than before. You're giving me a lot of credit. I am so fortunate to work with, Shelly and the team at the makeup show who really put everything together. Shelly from her sick bed with COVID was like,
yeah.
I'm the one who gets to stand on the stage and kind of get the applause, but really that team works so hard. And this show is very different. It is a beauty experience. It is another live event, but what we are really doing is working to keep it very social, and keep people feeling safe and comfortable. But also, we know after coming out of this, it isn't just the shopping anymore. We have more education than ever. We are looking at different networking and social events because I think people need that community connection. But what we really wanted to do was look and say, okay, access is so huge. We spent 2020 so activated out in the streets with Black Lives Matter. We looked at our industry, we looked at the brands and how they were performative or very positive. We looked at the brands that were supporting artists through the pandemic or maybe letting people go. We looked at the icons in the industry, and our fundamentals. And then we said, you know what, coming out of this, we want the show to be more than just a trade show where people come and shop and buy makeup. Discounts are available everywhere. What we want this to be is a celebration, a place where you can come meet your favorite brands, get those crazy discounts, but also spend your time learning, looking forward. We're not just looking at, how to apply a smoky eye in, where we're looking at artists as a business, artists as a brand. We're looking at decolonizing beauty. We have always with the makeup show since day one been really about representation and inclusion. And that is a huge message for us. And I think the other thing, which I know you really appreciate, is we're looking at all areas of the industry. We have our union with us, really showing us, how has production changed and what's available. We have agents that are with us who are going to be talking about what does the world look like now. We have social media experts with us. Connection through social media was so amazing during the last few years, but it also feels overwhelming for a lot of artists. So we're going to break down a lot of that, and we're going to celebrate together. We're bringing in artists from all over the world. Our Danessa Myricks International stage has artists from 5 continents. It's similar in that it's at Metropolitan Pavilion and we're going to be talking about makeup, but it's very different because I think that artists and creatives have really come out of the last few years in a very different way. This kind of phoenix from the flame, for
how have you seen the change? How have you seen people? Have you seen them more fired up, not defeated at all, been, resilient? What have you seen this situation do to the artists that you work with?
I think what we've seen is the resilience. I think that, this is an industry that for so long, the primary artists and clients were women. And I think that so many of our artists were pulling double duty during the pandemic. They were mothers, educating their kids at home, trying to figure out a career, and what that looked like moving forward. We had other artists who were just coming into the industry who said, what happens to my dream? All of the money I spent on my education and all of these things, everything looks different. We had artists that have been in the industry like myself, 25 plus years, who watched things disappear. And so I think that the story of resilience is always such an essential part of a creative industry. But I think the other thing was people saw themselves on Zoom. People postponed weddings, production went on hold, and people really got to see the value of what we do. And so I think people came out and said, okay, I'm strong, I'm still here, I'm still standing. But also I know now what I need to do, maybe with a little more clarity than I had before the world kind of paused. And I think that is very exciting. This generation coming up after me will not put up with, what we put up with. It is a really different thing.
What do you think about that? What do you think about that? I talk about it a lot with like the generational differences of like us, like, not seeing any problem with 25-hour days, and then, the shift and all that.
I mean, I'm here for it. I have a very traditional career in that I started in the music industry and behind the Mac counter when I moved to New York. I started assisting really big artists, and I was always treated with kindness and respect by my mentors, but I watched how people got treated. And, I stood on a stage last year and I apologized.
I remember
live events because I fed people that the same things I was told. You have to work for free. You have to prove yourself. You have to put up with people talking to you in a certain way. And these kids are not. And I am here for it. I am here for it. Like, they have a different idea of what their value is, and they demand to be treated with respect. And I've always been for workers' rights and unions and empowerment. Yet I held my tongue when people treated me a certain way, because that's what I was told to do. And so I am now like the biggest advocate. I'm older in the industry, and so I'm using my time now to work with brands to look at things like amplifying new talent and, decolonizing, publications, and making sure that productions are bringing in artists of color who are qualified to work on talent of color. The BIPOC push forward in our industry requires people to put their money where their mouth is. Working equal pay, regardless of your gender expression, those require artists to speak out and step forward. And so I am here for all of the changes that are coming.
And explain for me exactly what you mean by decolonization of the beauty industry. Like, explain it how you see it.
I think, decolonization is a word that gets thrown around so many times in so many different ways. And Audre Lorde, I think, when talking about intersectionality in feminism, use the term, use the phrase, the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. And I think that's kind of what we're looking at in beauty right now, is we've been told for too many years by old white straight men in France what beauty looks like. And I think what we're trying to do is to say, let's support these smaller brands. Let's support these new artists. If you look at the makeup show now, it's independent brands, it's female owned, it's queer owned, it's Black and brown owned. It's, we're bringing in indigenous models. We're bringing in models of shape and size and color. And I think that it requires everyone in an industry to make those choices, and say, I want to make sure that we are hearing everybody's voice when we move forward. And I think it requires us to say we're also going to, make space for other people. I think when you and I came in, we had to fight for our space. And what we want to do is make it a safe space for everyone to feel welcome and kind of find their own path and place and voice in makeup.
And do you see that that's happening?
I do. I think with with the things that I'm connected to, I made a big choice during the pandemic. I actually had COVID really bad. I was in the hospital for about a month every day. And I made a decision that coming out, I only wanted to work with people that held my belief systems. I only wanted to work with people who were really doing something exciting. And that's a privilege that I have to be able to do that, But what I'm also doing is using kind of my big body to kind of push in to places where maybe there hasn't always been opportunity for others and for everyone. And so, I'm seeing it, but I'm also consciously choosing to only work with clients who are walking the talk,
talking the walk, putting their money where their mouth is. Now, how can we vet them? We know we can hear from you what brands you recommend and see them at the makeup show, but how could we on our own, if we were at Sephora, how could we vet a line to sort of investigate their values?
I think you've got to do your due diligence. You've got to really look at the brand and kind of follow the money. I think social media is a quick way. And so a lot of people say, oh, well, they posted this on Instagram. But I think when you look and you say, who are the people behind it? Are they accountable for their actions? Are they moving forward and making movement to kind of bring this positive forward? And how are they giving back? You can't really take from a community without giving back to it. And I think that that's a great way. If I look like this year, Mob Beauty is coming into the makeup show for the first time. This is, Victor Casale, pedigree from creator behind MAC Cosmetics and Cover Effects. But working towards sustainability in a way that it opens it up for other brands as well. That to me says this is a brand that I want to invest in. Danessa Myricks, taking over the world. My sister Danessa Myricks. But to see a Black-owned brand, stepping into space that has never been occupied by a Black-owned brand before, and then have to push back against the idea that Black women only do makeup for Black women, has been so inspiring, And I think also looking at the way that skincare is moving forward is always a good one for me. Ingredients are a great tell. If I am looking at your ingredients, if I'm looking at your packaging, if I'm looking at the people that you are bringing in to work with you, that will inform me. And then I've got to investigate a little further. And I know you're an investigator, so I know you're
I got my magnifying glass. Yes. And I do, I look to Estee Laundry, I guess, for a lot of things on call outs and stuff like that to see what's going on. But you just spoke a little bit about it. And of course, I've found in these interviews that everything begins at the MAC counter, myself included. So I see that your story starts at the MAC counter, but tell me more about your origin story, because people always see you everywhere and always on panels and everyone knows your bio, but I don't know if we really know the details of how you got into this world.
I mean, I'm very humble. I'm an accidental artist. I don't belong in the world that I'm in, probably. And honestly, this industry has given me so much. I come from Providence, Rhode Island, smallest of the 50 states. Most people have never been there. I grew up in a really large, very loud, very Catholic family. And I kind of thought my life was laid out before me. My mom was very involved in the community and the church. That really spoke to me always, no matter what we had, even when we didn't have a lot, there was another family maybe who needed more than we did next to us at a Christmas table or something. And so my degree is social work. It really was very much where I thought I would find myself. And specifically pediatric HIV, sexual trauma and assault. So it really tough areas of social work. And one day a woman came in and spoke to my school, and her name was Anita Roddick. She created the Body Shop Skin and Hair Care. It transformed my life. She brought me in. I worked in the stores. And once I started working with makeup, it was like, I was this weird kind of club kid, loner, very quiet and shy, always by myself. And makeup gave me my tribe. It gave me confidence. And so I applied for a master's program, and then I got a scholarship. And so I thought—
a master's program in makeup?
Yeah. No, for social work.
Okay. Oh, in social work. Okay, got it. Okay. And where did you go?
Rhode Island College.
In Rhode Island. Okay.
Yeah. And I was working at Brown in the community outreach center and doing all of these things. But really, makeup kept calling to me. It was like my side job. And I decided to write my dissertation on women of color and the white beauty myth. For me, growing up in such a mixed family, like I never saw us anywhere. There were no Black women on the cover of magazines. There were no Latino women. There were no Asians anywhere. It was an invisible minorities. There was no size, shape, or color anywhere in fashion. And I was so passionate about fashion. You know, I had this Kevin Aquan wall that I had above my bed. But I never thought someone like me could work in fashion. You know, I was always fat and weird, and it just didn't seem like me. And then I got headhunted by Mac in the 90s in Atlanta, where I was writing my dissertation, living with a friend who's also a makeup artist, Joe Delude. And that was it. And then I called my mom and I said, I'm not going to get my master's degree. I'm from Rhode Island, so she has a heavy accent. She said, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to be a professional makeup artist. And she was like, makeup artist? I never even heard of it. Is it a job? And I wasn't sure. And then,
you weren't sure either.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. But I knew I had to do it. I just knew. And then like things opened up. I started working with celebrities, assisting makeup artists like Billy B. Urban Decay Cosmetics moved me to New York. I started assisting Kevin Aquan. And my life started to open up in ways I never, ever imagined. And now it's been 27 years. You know, I work in all areas of the industry. I've worked and lived all over the world. And now I think what I am the most passionate about is kind of sharing those histories, a lot like you. I love the histories. I love to know who created a product. I love to know who spearheaded a movement. I love to be able to reference a look and then kind of investigate it back to the original. Mm-hmm. And I feel so lucky. I feel so much love. Because honestly, I am not the most talented makeup artist. There are people on my team who have a natural ability and skill. You know, I work very hard to do things like, you know, make something even. But I think what I have is a passion and an ability to celebrate people, and maybe a personality that has helped me go far. But I look around me every day. My dishwasher's going. I look around me every day and I say, God, like, how did I get here and how lucky am I? Like literally every day in my meditation, I offer gratitude because this industry has given me everything. And I don't know, I never saw myself here. And
well, you put service first, and that's, you know, obviously I see from your background that's where that comes from, and it shines through. And I think many will agree with me that I beg to argue with you that you aren't the most talented makeup artist. I mean, your work with Joan Jett is incredible, of course, and that's what I live for. I love all the work you do. But what's so interesting to me about your story is that you yourself, your brand is rooted in spirituality too. So it's like, tell me more about your brand and how that birthed.
With Rebels and Outlaws, and the name, you know, kind of expresses it. I hope the last few years politically have really changed the way people look at the idea of rebel. I'm sure. But it's rooted in activism. You know, my husband and I have the brand together. It came to me in a weird way. Like we were working on a huge project with Fenty, working with Rihanna. We launched this, you know, did this huge program. I interviewed over 2,800 artists for Rihanna. And afterwards, I went on an artist retreat with the Powder Group that Michael and I lead every year called Evolution. Mm-hmm. And when I came back, Jeremy, my husband, said, what are you going to do? You're going to take this job or we move to San Francisco? It's a good title. It's good money. And I said, you know what? I kind of want to make candles.
Instead of Fenty?
Instead of corporate.
Instead of corporate? Oh my God, that's great. So did the candles come to you at Evolution? Idea?
I had always made candles. Like my grandmother, like my family had always done them, and I've always made them for gifts and for my clients. And I make my own toners and skincare, and I had always done that for my clients. But I felt like at this time, this is now 3-4 years ago, artists were really struggling. And I felt like I was too. And I know we've had this conversation. I felt like I was working so hard. I had bought into the hustle. And I was coming home depleted. You know, my friends, my family, my husband were getting like the worst of me. Everything was being left out. And so I found meditation. I found the idea of meditation, and I found the idea of like setting intention.
Yes.
Gratitude, very powerful in my makeup career and in my interactions with my clients. And I thought if I can figure out a way to share this, I want to do that. And so that's where Rebels and Outlaws kind of started. And then Jeremy, my husband, who was also in production and fashion and beauty, you know, he's a punk rock kid from Florida. So he was like the anarchist, like food not bomb, you know, out at protests, and we were out in the streets all the time. And so I was coming from this kind of area of social work, and like I met my first boyfriend chained to the State House, you know, protesting. And then Jeremy,
so romantic.
Yeah. And so like we both came from this idea of like activism and intention. And so that's kind of what Rebels and Outlaws is. We wanted to create something where we could give people a focus and a tool to be able to curate their space, protect their energy, prepare something special for their client, but also do it in a way that was very mindful. And when you look at kind of the product that we create, you'll see that there are charities that we're aligned with, and organizations and activations that are very important to us. And you know, now I think it's very common for makeup artists to kind of go in and put a candle down and burn some,
right,
you know,
right.
candles.
That's a new thing. Yeah.
I think when I did it, you know, when I started out, you know, one of my people I assisted was Sharon Galt, and she's the same. Like we would set up altars before we did makeup, and like, you know, I just
love it.
And I wanted to make space for other people and give other people permission, regardless of what your religious thoughts are. Right. Sometimes the idea of spirituality and connection and communication, intention, gratitude, those allow us and inform us as creatives and as artists. And so that was kind of my purpose in that. And then with the makeup show, it was a very natural fit because I stand on those stages. I work with 150 brands, and so many people stepped forward and said like, oh my God, this is kind of just what we needed.
Yeah, of course. And I just love like how you and Jeremy, so Jeremy Meek is your husband. And so you guys work together. I work with my husband too. And how are you able to manage that? I remember one year we had to make the office, we had to close the door on it and put the office is closed. And if we wanted to talk about the office, we had to go in there and like go, you know, try to get into the locked door. Like the therapist told us, like, you may not on the couch discuss business. Do you have to set boundaries like that at all? No,
not really.
You just wing it.
I think that there are definitely times where he'll say like, we're not working today.
Okay.
Or I'm not working right now.
Yeah.
Or he'll, to be honest, you know, I'm the more difficult personality. He'll say, I don't work for you. You know, I'll say like, well, why wasn't this done? But I think that comes from my own, you know, my own ego or my own, you know, my own desire. Usually if I'm anxious about something, it's because I don't want to let someone down. I'm a people pleaser.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And I think Jeremy is very like, you know, he's like a straight skater guy. He's like, this is what it is, and this is who I am. And if you don't like it, that's cool. And so I think we have this duality and balance that's very natural. But I definitely think like he puts up with a lot, but it doesn't really bleed itself into our home life. I think because we really made a decision that we love working together. Anything that is important to me is important to him, and anything that's important to him is important to me. And that has been kind of stuff from the beginning. And we do have rules in communication, which I think every couple needs.
Have to, yeah.
So certain things I'm not allowed to say or, you know, bring up at certain times, and respect that. And if not, you know, burn some sage. And there are times he'll be like, go bang a gong, and like, oh yeah.
Where's that gong? I wanted to ask you what you think the most important things for new artists are to keep in mind. I know you get asked this all the time, but being a kind of new world now, what comes to mind first that you would suggest to artists that are like off the, you know, New Jersey Transit, and they're like, hi, I'm here, I'm ready to take on the world. Like, what would you advise them to do first?
Yeah, I'm thinking like Rhoda, like this is your New York, this is your last chance.
Rhoda.
I think that it would be, you know, education is so key. It is literally what I've dedicated my career to, because it was so hard for me. No one would teach me when I started. No one would train me. And then as I started assisting, Kevin Aquan, Linda Cantello, Dick Page, Ashley Ward, Sharon Galt, Billy B, they were so good to me and so kind. And they not only educated me, and not necessarily with instruction, sometimes it was watch and learn, but they gave me so much opportunity. And I think that those things, that's kind of how I break it down. So I would say artists need one, education. You need to know the fundamentals, and you need to cross-educate as well. It isn't just makeup. You need to know lighting and camera and art,
So true.
I think networking and community, it's a social job. And so the more that you're involved in meeting other people in the industry, that's a huge part of it. And I think that, I guess a lot of people might say that this is kind of a crazy one because we're talking about, career success in those things. I think you've got to work on yourself. I think that this is an industry where so many people are obsessed with celebrity. But for me, I have found that really we're caregivers, especially because I do so much work in the music industry, which is where I love, like the women of rock and roll are my place. Yes. I think you are dealing with other artists and you're dealing with other creatives in my side. So I have to be very mindful of that. But for my artists that are working in bridal or working retail, there is not a tougher role in the industry. As a bridal artist, you're working with someone on the most important day of their life. We deal with all their vulnerabilities, all their insecurities. I do more counseling now than I did as a social worker. Yeah. So I think, you've got to really take care of yourself and prepare yourself for how much you have to be open and available to other people. So I would say if you're thinking about education and you're thinking about support and community and networking, and you're thinking about taking care of your own self and being your best self, I think that sets you up for success in the beauty industry in a way that you can then start to look and say well, where do I want to go? And then start looking at specifics. If I've got the fundamentals of artistry down, if my kit is prepared, if my professionalism and personality are where they need to be, then I can say, okay, well, what do I need to do to work in film and television? Or what do I need to do to assist at an agency? And then that information kind of fills in the other pieces.
What amazing advice. It's so good because it is so draining too. And people underestimate that, to be there for a bride, they don't go through this every day. This is their Oscars. This is it. They will die if it doesn't look perfect.
They're looking at those photos until they get divorced.
Yeah. It's true. Oh my God. Wait, so now you talk about Billy B.
Yeah.
And I have to know what videos you remember working on with Billy.
Oh my God. With Billy, assisted me so many. I can't even remember. I mean, Billy is just the biggest heart in the business.
Yes.
And I mean, everything from TLC, Salt and Pepper, so many throughout time. And then Billy handed me huge opportunities like Born This Way. I got to key the video. Billy did Gaga's beauty. I keyed all of the body painting, prosthetic painting, all of the dancers, all of the things, and so this is someone who's like a mentor and a friend, not just bringing me on set, but giving me a title and an opportunity for a groundbreaking music video.
Yes.
I will never forget the way that he supported me. And I think that's why I try and give so much opportunity to other people, because there was no ego with Billy. Right. He never said, this is my assistant. He said, this is my friend, James, and he's going to be doing this airbrush, and that doesn't always happen,
Mm-hmm. Modeling that makes you who you are, which is such a gift. A gift. And then what things do you remember about working with Kevin? Of course I have to ask.
Kevin was larger than life personality, huge, presence. And I think that those are the things that people always talk about, definitely. But I think there was a kindness and a people-pleasing quality there that I kind of connected to. And I think the best advice he ever gave me was, and I talk about it every chance I have, is that you have to make each person who sits in your chair feel like they're the most important person that has ever sat in that chair. And he had such a gift for that and a propensity for that. And I think I found it difficult to work for Kevin. First of all, because my makeup style was a little different. I really loved seeing skin and I'm very minimal at a time where he was doing a lot of structure. But I think the other thing was everyone was always trying to get close to Kevin, and I'm not a competitive person. And so
interesting.
He was, he was really careful with people, and I think he saw who was good at what, and so he recommended that I recommended Jett that I work with Dick Page, who is much more aligned with my style and my personality. Dick has given me huge opportunities in the industry, working with him backstage. Linda Cantello.
Oh my God.
Handing me celebrity clients when she wasn't available. And I think that's the thing. I never really asked for anything. I'm actually very quiet on set. I'm a very, I know that there are clients that I haven't continued with because I am not as social as other artists are, or I'm not as in the game. I'm not someone who goes to the parties or
totally
designer clothes or
totally.
And I think that those mentors really helped me kind of find myself, like not only what makeup I wanted to do, but who I wanted to be on set, how I wanted to speak to people.
It's so important. So important. Yes. Yes.
And I remember once I was working with President Obama, but he was on the campaign trail at the time, the first campaign, and he knew the name of every person in the room. The people who came in and put out the food, the people who cleared out the trash, and he thanked them by name. And that really spoke to me. And I thought, oh, that's something that Dick Page always did, or Linda Cantello always did. Like, they were very mindful. Billy B they always treated every person with respect and kindness. And I think that's how I've always tried to be in my career too.
Amazing to see
when you approach it like that. How can you not have a great day? Like, people always say,
right?
I'm sure you hear it. People always say, "Who is your toughest client?" And I would say, I've never really had a tough client, because I think I always try and put myself in and say, "Oh, well, they're anxious because
exactly.
This is $1 million music video or something like
that." Exactly. Yes. You have to get out of yourself and go, this is so not about me. And yeah. And I feel like a lot of artists sometimes, because they want to do great and they want to show I'm worth as much as you're paying me. And they get so worked up, and then they want to say they're the most important person in the room, not in a sassy way, but just like, I deserve to be here. And, and then it gets, then the focus is off the client, and it kind of backfires sometimes. Yeah.
And I think
that's great advice.
I think that's what I appreciate about what you do, is you celebrate artists. And I think that you, as an artist, have learned how to kind of navigate those interactions, and you do it so well.
Thank you,
I think
James.
that no, it's true. It's I know you have had interviews that aren't always easy, but when you kind of put yourself in the place of the other person, I think it just informs you to say, okay, I'm able to be me, and I can let them be them. And so that's, I tell my team all the time, don't, surround yourself with other people. And I think, you really are one of those people, Tiffany, who, like, everybody wants to be around you because
you make me cry. Thanks, James. Yeah. Well, I learned so much about community from you and watching you over the years. I mean, I've been watching you for years. I'm really dating ourselves, but it's so important and essential for people to feel these, and we're all misfits and we all need somewhere to go. And, it's really a beautiful, beautiful thing that you've created, is this like judgmentless zone of, come here and everything's going to be okay. And we get to play with makeup.
Yeah.
I mean, what could be better? It's just like always a slumber party.
Fun. Yeah.
Yes. And like, I just love all of the direction that everything is going in. And I feel like things are, tell me about iArtist. This is new to me a little bit. iArtist that you've been sort of launching or rolling out?
iArtist now, this is our fourth iArtist.
No.
This is, it has been a kind of stealth. It's only open to a few artists. It is Shelley Tagar, who created and owns The Makeup Show, and Danessa Myricks and myself. And what we wanted to do was create an intimate program for 70 people this year. And it is unlike anything else in the industry, because what we try and do is give you a year-long mentorship program that then leads itself into working with us continuously. But it's developing not just your artistry and your career. It's not just your personal development. It is putting you in touch with people who are truly the experts at what they do.
Wow.
So, having the union come in and speak to you about the union, having an agent come in. We help you write your business plans, redefine your website, redesign your social media, come on set with us, be backstage with us at Fashion Week. So it really is kind of the essence of what I learned as an assistant in the traditional way, in a new way that kind of takes it all in and individualizes it for each person, no matter where they are in the world, no matter where they are in their career. And I think that's why it's been so exciting is when I started, makeup is an art, but it's also a craft. And so when I started, you apprenticed under a master until that master said, you are now a makeup artist. And I think as that kind of disappeared, people sometimes forget why. We know that makeup is art, so there is some subjective nature to it, and we know that makeup is expressive. So I think people should wear whatever they want. But if you're going to call yourself a professional artist, then you need to be rooted in the elements of art, the fundamentals of artistry, an understanding of the industry. You need to know how to present yourself and produce yourself, and you need to know how to build a brand and a business. And so that's iArtist this year is really designed to be about putting you in place with the people who can help you answer to your own needs. Because we'll have people who want to have a bridal business in Australia next to someone who wants to win an Academy Award, next to someone who, is truly pursuing a career in fashion editorial.
Right.
You cannot speak to them all or educate them all the same way.
Right.
So what we try and do is empower them to be able to develop their own eye, their own hand, their own skill set, their own support system in a way that allows them to feel like a full artist, and to not just think about happiness, but fulfillment, and not just think about, producing makeup, but like, what is the purpose? Like, why are you here, and what do you want to be, and where do you want to go? And then we kind of help you figure out how to get there, if that makes sense. Sorry,
it makes perfect sense. I think that's so of value. That's amazing. I feel like that's what everybody's looking for, right? In any career, it really is that kind of level.
Yeah, sorry, I talked over you. And then to be able to come in and to spend an hour with, an Emmy winner like Melanie Mills or Joe Dulude, an Academy Award winner, Women's Wear Daily Business Award winner, and get to spend time with them, not just in a classroom, but to have lunch with them, to have dinner with them, to develop a real relationship. That is the other part. I come from a small place. I don't come from money. So that access to the people who made those decisions, just getting in front of.
So hard, right?
So hard.
So be able to have that is essential. That's amazing. I always say, like, my husband got to go to NYU because it was the school down the street. And I'm like, you have no idea what the difference is. Like that was your local university, and I came from Portland, Oregon, and was like, had NYU written all over my walls. Big difference.
Yeah, I remember working with Kevin, like the first time, that was the craziest thing is that I had his
The wall.
pictures. Yeah, the wall. So gay. I had like a wall of like fashion.
I mean, I had a wall too. Yeah.
But
Right.
you can see behind me, there's one of my artist friends painted Debbie Harry album cover. And
I can tell
Kevin,
by the eyes right away.
Yeah, and that's Linda Mason was the original artist on that.
Really?
That one might be, no, that might not be Linda Mason. I have to do my research. I usually know, but I'm blanking. And so Linda Mason did the original, and then Kevin Aquan recreated it on Nadja Auerman for Harper's Bazaar. And I was like, oh, this is it. And then being on set with Kevin and working with those models, it was like, oh my God, this is what I slept under every night. Dreaming about. New York was a dream for me. Like I remember going there at 11 or 12 and being in the East Village and being like, I have to live here. And then a year later, maybe a Madonna movie came out, Desperately Seeking Susan, where she was in the East Village. And I was like, that's my home. That's where I have to be, and packing it up and going there. Like New York it wasn't real for me, And then, so yeah, I think like to help other people kind of figure out how to do the things they want to do.
Yeah.
I'm called to do it because I could not be here if people didn't help me, Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
Well, I am excited for the makeup show this year. It's the 1st and 2nd of May. And so if you're listening, I will see you there, or watching, I will see you there. And I mean, oh my gosh, there's so many. Please tell them how to follow you. And please be following James. He has the keys to all you need to know, all the advice you need in the world to go and conquer the makeup artistry world.
Well, you're very sweet, but it really is the show is the big thing. The show that Shelley and the team have put together this year and kind of what we've put together is just, I think, so special and so different. It is, nonstop education on so many stages. Artists like James Malloy, Jessica Smalls, Nikki Posley, the Nessa Myrick's International stage. We're doing deep dives. John Hennessy and I are going to be talking about developing your media and your agency work, and
that's great.
There's so much shopping from so many new brands, so I am so appreciative that I get the opportunity to educate. But I think that if there is a person listening who's saying like, I don't always know what's coming next, or I think the other tough thing in our industry, even the people we love the most sometimes don't really know what we do to make a living. So, just to be around other makeup artists and hairstylists and estheticians and be like, hey, look at us doing all this cool stuff and getting real answers to help kind of reach your own goals. That's what the makeup show is about this year. And so I feel so grateful that you're thanking me, but it really is, the makeup show is made up of the people who come to the makeup show, and that is what makes it so special. And this year I think everybody's ready for the party, right? After the pandemic comes the party, so let's just all come out and celebrate safely and socially and have an experience together.
Wonderful. I will be there with bells on. Like I might literally wear bells.
This is the new trend. So all we're talking about now is wearing bells.
And I can't wait to see you, James, and everybody else out there.
You got the biggest one for you.
Thank you so much. This was the best time ever.
Look Behind the Look is a Vinyl Foot production, written by me, your host, Tiffany Bartok, produced by Jace Bartok, edited by Nicole Tucker, with art design by Kelly Riley. If you're interested in learning more, find our video version on the YouTube channel, Look Behind the Look Podcast. There you can see rare photos and clips from our guests. And please follow us on Twitter at LookBehindPod and Instagram at LookBehindTheLook. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe. And tell your friends and spread the word. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or any podcatcher of your choice. Thanks for listening to Look Behind the Look.